Hi guys, hi guys, hi guys. Happy to have you guys on board once again. This is a very special series or a very special event or program, however you call it, structured for you. This is something we've realized almost every industry is using to develop a whole large of products, services they are running in within their organizations, or they are shipping or selling out of their organization. So we thought of this, and we came together. We plan to have this series, TypeScript series, to build you from scratch as a beginner to advanced, because we don't want to do something whereby we have one particular event a day and then who you forget whatever you learned. So what we did was we are going to have this series for a whole 4 Sundays. Okay, so this is our first Sunday. We are going to have for the next Sunday and the next Sunday and the next Sunday 4 times. And at the end of this event, you will be able to do something like develop something simple on your own, and this is going to build you or prepare you straight to work with any organization that build their products using TypeScript or JavaScript. Yes, who knows? So yes, before we start, I would like to introduce some of my colleagues to you. I have Wise here. I have Albert. Hello, Albert. Albert, can you put on your camera? I don't know if Albert is here currently, but Wise is here. Hello, Wise.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah,
Hello
awesome.
to
Yeah, so yeah, Albert, hi. Yeah, so we are doing this in the evening, just since some of you are you do a whole lot during the day and you need to rest. So we didn't want to do it within the week. This is an introduction session, and we plan to do all the events in the evening, so you guys can have full time and sit behind your laptops, and you learn something. And it's not going to take much of your time. Is just going to take 40 minutes if you can. Let's try minutes. The event will be recorded as well on our platform, TypeScript series playlist, so you can always get it to watch. Links will be dropped in here as well. Share with your friends. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend to tell a family member to join this awesome series. And they are not going to regret it. So we are going to start with Samuel Andrai this time around, who is going to take us through the introduction, environment setup, and basic syntax in TypeScript. So without wasting much time, we are just far behind time. So straight away, I'll have to introduce Samuel to the game. Yeah, so Samuel, hi
Hi.
Samuel. Yeah,
Hey
yeah.
guys,
So
how's
Samuel,
everyone
nice
doing?
seeing you here. Um,
Nice to see you too.
Samuel has been awesome to the community, and we know he's going to give us a lot. I wish he will stick with us throughout until we finish. Then let's see. Samuel might have. I mean, Samuel will employ some of you. Samuel will employ some of you guys. Come on, just make sure you take this serious. You do something with it, and
yeah.
yes, we will do more with it. Yeah. So I'll hand over to Samuel to take us through quickly. Yeah, so Samuel, over to you now.
All right. Hey, hello guys. How is everyone doing? Hope you're all having a great Sunday. Like Shadrach said, this is the TypeScript series. We're going to start from the bare minimum all the way to advanced. And today's session, we're going to concentrate more on setting it up and then kind of like giving you a bird's eye view of the various features, the various advantages of using TypeScript. Now, once this is done, I'll just introduce you to some very basic syntax and things you can use. But the core idea for today's session is to help you set up and help you navigate around it. In subsequent editions, once you've set it up, we can now take you through, the very beginning of, how to do a lot of things in TypeScript. But yes, this would be a series to help you gain that level of experience. I will try as much as possible to stick with you guys and be coming back as and when. But for today, I'm privileged to have you. So my session today is going to be quite interactive. I'm not going to be using any slides. I'm just going to jump into, my tooling environment, and I'll be talking over it. So most times you'll probably be seeing just my screen, but then I'll be talking you through it. I just want you to have, I want this series to be a bit different. To move away from just slides, and then demo no. So we're just going to do everything interactively. So, before I get into it, this is my agenda for the day. I'll just tell you briefly about what TypeScript is. I'll talk to you about just if you some of the main feature of TypeScript. That we'll look at how to set up your environment. Very simple setup. And then I'll talk about some very basic or key environmental configurations that you need to do. I mean, they're very basic. As we move on in the course, we'll be adding new things to it. And sometime in the course, you see how to use TypeScript with Angular, with React, and all. But for today, keeping it basic. Then I'll talk about typings, and then we'll talk about the type annotation. So I'll talk about how you annotate variables, custom types, interfaces, functions. We'll talk about arrays, a little about tuples, and I might just delve into a little of generics, and then we can call it a day, and then we can build on it. So if you're ready with me, well, first of all, so what is TypeScript? So TypeScript is an open source language, all right, which builds on top of JavaScript. What it does is that it extends JavaScript. So it's popularly called a superset or a superset of JavaScript. Now, which means that any code you write in TypeScript is valid JavaScript. Now, if you know JavaScript, you know that JavaScript is not strongly typed, which means you can pretty much declare any variable and then use it, pass any values into it. What TypeScript does is that it becomes a static type checker that is on top of TypeScript. And using a TypeScript compiler or bubble, you can actually transpile your TypeScript into valid JavaScript. The good thing about TypeScript is that it allows you to write even future JavaScript. So if you're familiar with the ECMAScript ES 2017, whatever that is, now TypeScript allows you to write even modern JavaScript that has not yet been, standardized. But then the compiler is going to, transpile that for you into a valid um, type entirely JavaScript. So on the surface, that's like basic what TypeScript is. So if you know JavaScript, yeah, all your JavaScript is valid in TypeScript. It's just adding a static type checking to it. So currently, the current version for TypeScript is 4.2, I believe, yes. And then the next release which is 4.3, is planned for the 25th of May. Very easy tool to install, very quick to set up. So without much ado, let's get into my environment, and I'm going to move my view here. Don't worry, I'm using multiple screens, so I might be looking this, but I'm actually looking into you. So if I just go ahead and share my screen, yeah, let's see. Which one? TypeScript. So forgive me. I'm picking my screen to share. Let's do this. Let's see. Yep. All right. So let me know if you can see my screen. Let me actually bring my Zoom it here so that we can get into it. All right. So if you know JavaScript, hooray. If you don't, just stick with us, follow with us, like gradually, and make sure you don't miss any of the episodes. And then we are actually going to, help you learn and make this, very, very, very interesting for you. So let's just get into it. So this is what I'm going to do. So first of all, I'm just going to set up, and like I mentioned, I'm going to be very interactive. So I'm not going to be, doing a lot of plenty talk. So let me zoom in here so you can see this. All right. Well, there's nothing crazy here. All I'm doing is moving into my repository. I think I have it in dev. Yep. Now this is just basic Windows stuff. Now, if they are new to programming and you don't have any IDE of a sort, no problem, no worries about that. But we'll recommend you install Visual Studio Code. It's a free uh, developer tool, very interesting. I believe it's one of the popular tools used by most developers, around the world. So if you don't have it, you can easily, let's bring this up here. Just a sec. You can actually go to Visual Studio. I believe if you go to visualstudio.com, that should redirect you and then allow you to download Visual Studio Code. Yes. Yep. So let me bring it right here so you can see this. So yeah, so if you go to visualstudio.microsoft.com, let's see. Do we have a way of pushing this to them on the screen? I believe so. So my producers, you can, if you are, we can put this here for those that want to see this. So if you go there, if you go to visualstudio.microsoft.com, yep, this is it right here. Yep. So if you come here, you should be able to download. If you go to the page and you go all the way down, you should see Visual Studio Code. You can download and install it. Another thing it helps us to do is it has a lot of extensions that help you build different, tooling and stuff like that. One of the cool features about this is it allows you to do code sharing. So in subsequent episode, we could have like 3 or 4 of us all coding, all right, at the same time. So good tool to have. All right. So all I'm doing is I'm just, changing context into my Visual Studio Code. This should start my Visual Studio Code instance, and you should see my VS Code on your screen. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make it a bit big so that we can see this. Yeah, it's a bit small. I just want to make sure it's quite legible enough. And just prompt me so we are sure that it's of a good size. All right, so this is just an empty folder. All right. So to install Visual Studio Code, let's do this. And one thing I just want you to know is that you don't necessarily need you don't need to do the installation right from Visual Studio Code. You can do that from your command prompt or anything. So that is where I'm going to start, this from. So to get started, it's as simple, as doing. It uses the Node, package manager to do the installation. So you can do npm install globally, all right, and then type script. I've already installed that, but I'm just going to go through it again for you guys to see. So npm install TypeScript, checks that out for you, installs it. As you can see, currently 4.2.3. So my TypeScript is installed. I can go ahead and do npx tsc TypeScript Compiler. It will just run and show me, pretty much all the available stuff I have in there. Yep. So this tells me my TypeScript has been, properly installed. Now, with that done globally, I can close this and come back to my Visual Studio Code. Forgive my extension. I have tons of extension running in here. So, all right. So in here, what I'm going to do is open the terminal down here so we can do the compilation. So this is how you do it. Very basic. Now, if you TypeScript, like I mentioned, is just any regular JavaScript. So the only difference here is that if we do, let's call this, the only thing is the extension of TS. All right. Forgive me here. Let's rename this. My extensions are kicking in. All right. So index.ts, and then that tells tells your compiler that you're writing, you're building a TypeScript application, right? Let me just close these things. Give me a sec. Yeah, I'll just deal with them. All right. So now, like I said, any valid, any valid JavaScript is pretty much, TypeScript. So if you go ahead and let's close this. We're not installing that. So if you go ahead and you do something like, let's just do this. If you say let x equals 25, all right, all right, and then later I say x is equal to hello, right? and then I go ahead and I do console.log, let's say X, all right? And I'm going to show you something right now. Uh-oh. Oh, don't worry. Yeah. So if I'm going to show you something, if you want to compile this, all right, and then you go ahead and do, let's actually change this for the sake of understanding the importance of, I'm going to create a new file here, and then let's call this, let's say hello, all right. Okay. You are seeing some of the benefits already of TypeScript. So let's say hello dot, I'm going to do this as straight JS file, all right. And then I'll copy this and let's bring it into this file, all right. Now you realize that right from here we don't have any problems. You don't see any errors or anything. One another benefit of TypeScript is that it allows you to catch some of these bugs even before you compile or run your application. So things that you wouldn't have caught from development, you catch them if you're using TypeScript. That's the reason for the strongly typed thing. So let me show this. Let me just run it. So now, if we went ahead to do console.log, all right. And one cool thing of using Visual Studio Code is you get some of these IntelliSense for you. And I say X. Now, what would you think would happen? So to run this, let's do this very quick experiment. All right. So let's just do I can just do this quickly here. So let's go ahead and say, well, let's just say node, and this time hello.js. All right. Um, let's see. So now you realize that we're not getting any errors here. All right, we're not getting any errors at all happening in here. Now, which is because JavaScript is a loosely typed language. So we declared X and assigned it to 24, and then later on we changed this assignment and added what? And changed it to a string. We don't have any type, strong type here, and therefore this would be a bug somewhere in the application, and that is where TypeScript shines. All right, and almost immediately, let me close this now. Almost immediately, you realize that within our TypeScript, check this out. It's almost telling us something. Type string is not assignable to a number. Now, and that is one thing I want to talk about here, is that there are different ways of assigning variables, all right, in TypeScript. The first one you've seen me do is what we call the implicit assignment, where I declared a variable X and assigned it to 24. Now, 24 is a number, so implicitly it's telling me that the variable X should always be what? A number and not a string. So these are some of the, how do you call it? Some of the benefits you get from. So almost immediately it tells me there's a problem. Now, if I change this, all right, to let's say 10. Now check that out. Okay, that cleared the error. Now it's clean. All right, it's telling me that X is of type what? Number. Now, if I save it, so the question is, okay, now how do I compile this? Quite simple. To do that, you call the TypeScript compiler, and in our case is what? Index.js. Sorry, index.ts. All right, and you realize what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that it is going to compile. All right, take a look at that. So TypeScript just compiled your index.tx right here, right? The index.ts, this has been compiled into what? Index.js. That actually has your defined, like your transpiled JavaScript. All right, so let's go check this out. So this is it. So if you open the index.js, as you can see, this is just pure, just pure JavaScript. All right. So any valid JavaScript you write is also valid in TypeScript. Now let's go into the sweet things of TypeScript. All right. So let's close this. Now, so this is the implicit way of defining. Now, another way you could have done that was to say that X is of type. Now, what if you didn't have an initial value to initiate it with? Then you can say, let's go here and say X is of type what? Number. All right. So let's go here. So then I can say X is of type number. Don't worry, I don't need Y. So we're just doing X. And then with this, it's still valid. Now I know that, okay, X is of type what number. Now, if you are looking out for a way to say, well, I don't want it to be, specific, well, you can use the annotation of what? Of any. And what this does is allows you at this point to pass a string. All right, let's go here. And then, I think I need to disable this extension for now so that it doesn't distract us. Yeah. So let's leave. So now you realize that because I'm using the type of any, even if I pass a number, that's correct. If I pass, a string, that also takes it. So that is how you use the annotation, TypeScript annotations with variables. All right. Now, another cool thing about TypeScript, okay, is what we call typings. All right. That gives you the IntelliSense. But before that, let's do this. Another, like we mentioned, TypeScript allows you, aside of the IntelliSense and the autocomplete, there are a lot of ways you can bring typings and stuff to it. So let's change this and do something real quick. So let me create a function, all right? And let's try an async function. And this will segue me into the configuration, all right? So you can understand how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and then let's create a function, all right? Let's create an async function. Oh, okay. I think I need to disable this Sona linked for now because it is yeah, don't worry, I'll just reload my VS Code. It's getting in our way. So let's just yep. All right, so let's create an async function and call this. Let's call this hello. All right. Very simple. And all we are doing is say return. All right. Let's say return world. All right. This is our async function, defined very easily and simply. Okay. Now, with this, if I go ahead again, save this, and then we compile, we run our compiler again, we start extension hosts. I have dozens of extensions. So if you do this again, okay, now you see what's going to happen. Now this is going to segue me into what we call the types of configuration. So if you go back and look into index, check this out. Now let me put this side by side, all right, so that we can actually see this. So this is a TypeScript we wrote. All right, this is a TypeScript we wrote, and this is the plain JavaScript it generated for us. Now, this is because of a few reasons. One, that is because TypeScript by default, okay, uses ES3, ECMAScript 3, and as of ECMAScript 3, we didn't have async await, in ECMAScript 3. All right, by default, TypeScript does that. So this is where the TypeScript configuration file comes in. Now, what is a TypeScript configuration file? Now, the TypeScript configuration file is just a file you add, all right, to your TypeScript settings that allows you to set properties or ways that the TypeScript compiler behaves, all right? So take a look at this without the TypeScript configuration. Let's leave this here. It generated all this bunch of files. Now, let's go ahead and create the file. So I have a cheat sheet here. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. So forgive my extensions. So let's close this, bring this here. So in here, I'm going to create a new file and we're going to call it the tsconfig. When you have a lot of extensions, this is what happens. So let me rename this. So this has to be tsconfig.json. All right, and then in here, so we're going to go ahead and define, all right, let's close this. We're going to go ahead and define our TS configuration. It's a very basic JSON file. Now the first thing you want to put in there is what we call the compiler, the compiler options. All right. then this compiler option takes a bunch of other, what have I typed? Doop, doop, doop. There you go. That's why I love Visual Studio Code. I get Intellisense for some of these things. So the compiler option, the first thing we need to do here, as you can see, it gives us, Visual Studio Code gives us a lot of the, the compiler options, allow static, but today we're going to concentrate on just 3, all right? And then as we move on in the series, we'll keep adding a lot of them. So I'm going to start with target, and you can see this, target, and you see that by default is set to ECMAScript 3, all right? But I'm going to change this to ES next. Now, what this means is that I am future proofing my TypeScript code. So anytime I write my TypeScript code, make sure that when you're compiling it to the next, available or standardized version. So now with just this compiler option, all right, let's go back and just remind ourselves of what we had. This is what we had for just transpiling this very basic async function. Now, with the tsconfig set to ES next, let's go ahead again and then run that again. So tsc index.ts, let's run this. This is going to regenerate the index file. That's done. Let's go check the index out. Where is that? I think I probably have to, yep, I think I probably have to delete this. Let's delete this and regenerate it. That should override it any which ways, but don't worry, I'm going to delete this and delete. Yes, move to recycle bin. Let's save this and let's try this again. And let's go. I changed it to EX to do ECMA ES 2017. All right. So let's see. And now let's look at that. Something. Oh yeah, sorry, but I need to make some quick changes here. Give me a sec. So let me go back to my config. Change did I type it well? Okay, let me do this. Let me use 6, all right, instead of the next. And then let's try this again. And pop, this should give us, there you go, something more, modding. Now let's add one more of the configurations. Now the other thing you can add in the configuration is what we call watch. Now what watch does for you is, if you set it to true, it means that it's just like if you're familiar with JavaScript development with Node, like node mod. Anytime I make a change, recompile for me, all right, just recompile the file for me as I make changes. So we save this, and then if I go back here and I say now, instead of return world, let's say in return hello world and save, that recompile happens for me automatically. The third one I want to show you, talk to you, the very basic compiler options I want to show you here is what we call the lib. All right. Now, what the lib does is allow you to introduce other libraries that you want typings for. And we'll talk about typings next. Typings will be the next thing that I'll talk about for typings. All right. So let me use an example of the DOM. Okay, the DOM model as an example of the typings. So now, if in this file, let me get rid of this. If in this file I want to do something like I want to use the DOM stuff. So let's say const URL is equal to, let's say, new URL. You see that now I would have a lot of Intellisense. So if I did dot, right, I'm getting all this Intellisense, just because I'm added, those libraries too. Now, there are some times that you add libraries and then they don't have typings. All right. An example is Lodash. If you've used Lodash in your development before, you realize that Lodash doesn't have typings. So let's try this. All right. Let me just go ahead. Let's do something real quick. Let me do npm install. Oh no, let's do this. I've not init this, so let's do npm init. Let's do this. So we have npm in there, and if I do npm install Lodash, just to make sure we have Lodash in this file. Hopefully this, okay, so that's done. So now if I go ahead and do, let's do this. Let's say I'm importing all from all as underscore from Lodash, you see something that happened. Do you see that it says that it can't find, typings and stuff for it? All right, it can't find the typings for it, right? It can't. That is because Lodash does not compile with its typings. Now, there's a way to solve this. All right, there's a huge monorepo, okay, which is managed by the community that actually has, that gives you access to that. So to include these typings, let's do this. We are just going to go ahead and bring that in. So let's go here. So npm install, all right. And you can also install it globally if you want to, but I'll just install it right here within the application. All right. So it's a type, and then the type we're looking for, types, and the type we're looking for is Lodash. So with this, what's going to happen is that it's going to bring in the typings for Lodash. And once that happens, you see that the swiggy lines go off. And then now I can do something like, underscore, and you can see underscore dot, and I'm getting all these typings and Intellisense just because of adding the extra typings. So just to quickly recap, we've talked about the typings, we've talked about variables. Now let me quickly jump into custom types, all right, and then we can move on. So as you know that we have your number, your strings, and all other types of data type, primitive types, all right, which we'll talk more about in subsequent series. However, now there are times that you want to create your own type, your custom type, all right, and just from the premise of the number that I showed you, we're going to use the same thing. So let's get rid of all these for now, and then let's go ahead and work on our standard types. All right, so quickly, let's say I have, the number. Basically we started at, if I say let x equals, let's say let x equals 23, I'm actually setting that to it so that I can say x is equal to 1, and that works. And I can say x is equal to string. I'll get this, this typing, it has to be a number. Now to create your own type, you start by doing type, and then the name of the type. So let's say I want to call this type a style, and it's of type string. Well, that would be like you're being redundant. All right, so let's just make it much more. So let's say if it's of a type string, then I can come down and say, okay, now let my what, I'm creating a property called font, and let font be the type of what, style. Does that make sense? Well, you say that, well, this is just redundant. Your style type is of string, so why don't you just do the string? Well, this is not where the power of this custom type shines. What if I do this? I want the options to be either bold or italic. All right, now with this, now if I say let font be of type style, I can go ahead and say font is equal to 1. Is S is going to scream at me. Do you see that? It says that S is not an assignable type of style, which is because I'm saying that font should be either what? Sorry, if I'm using a type of style, should be either bold or italic. So now if I say this is bold, you see that that error goes off. So this is how you create a custom type. And there's a lot of power in doing, this. Very, very, and the cool thing is that you can mix and match it. I can say it also can be 23. So now either I put bold, italic, or I put what, 23. These are the allowable values here, and this is the power of using what, your custom types. Now the next thing is, sometimes You think that what types on variables and it's just overrated. No, where this really shines is what we call you're going to create a lot of custom objects. So let's do an example. So let's say I'm going to bring in some cheat I have here. All right, and this is just an object. All right, and I can go ahead and create another one. Copy here, and then let's say this is person 2, and then we'll call this one Amagana. All right. Now, as of now, there isn't any, thing to wait to tell us, well, this is not formatted well. One of the cool things about TypeScript is it allows you to do a lot more object-oriented programming and, strongly typed stuff. It introduces some concept from the traditional C# and Java into your coding. So what we can do in terms of creating custom types of objects, we use what we call interfaces. So I can create I can say an interface, and we can call this parsing. All right, interface of parsing. And the parsing interface has the first as, let's say, string. All right, and then it has the last, and then it has the last also as a string. Now, for the sake of this test, I want to include let's say age as the third thing in the second parsing. Now, if we go ahead, all right, let me actually close this for now. Now, if I go ahead and now we have the interface, now I can go ahead and say, you know what, this parsing is actually a type of parsing. Let's do this. And then now it will validate that. If I also go ahead and say this is also a type of parsing, now you see that almost immediately it screams at us and tells us, no, that person doesn't have, age from that interface. So the question is, okay, then, Sam, how do we solve this? Well, yeah, quite simple. We can solve this, all right, by adding a third option. Another way to do this is to say, okay, there can be we can have any other variable, sorry, any other property in this object, all right, but it should be a type of, the key should be a type of a string, but then it can have a value of any, all right. When you do this, now you realize that this is no longer streaming at us. All right. So that is the power of using interfaces in, with TypeScript. Now, the next thing I want to quickly talk about before we move on is let's see how this applies also to functions. So let's go ahead. And then I'm going to create a very, bring in a very simple, let's create a very simple function here. So let's call it function power that takes x, y, all right, and let's say this return, all right, let's say math the power xy, all right. I mean, very basic, all right. Now you see that this is already screaming at us, okay. We can deal with this. We are not, sorry, we are not importing, the math thing, but this is something that is just screaming at us. Now, in terms of functions in TypeScript, you can apply a couple of things here. We can say that, look, let x be of a type number, and then let y also be of a type number. And then in this case, by virtue of this implicit math, it knows that this has to return a number. However, if you want it to return a specific, you say that this returns, let's say, a string. And when you do that, this might probably be screaming at you because you're probably not using the thing right. Now, to do this, let's assume that we've done this, and let's say for the sake of let's say return 3. It's just for the sake of don't worry, just for the sake of this session. You realize that this is screaming at us, says that number is not assignable to a type of a string. This is because this function, after taking the number, is expecting to return a string, not a number. So you might want to do, return something that is of a type number, and then this, works well for you. So that is how you apply it, to numbers. let's quickly jump to array. I'm looking at our time. Let's see. Yeah, I think we can do this, and we can probably put observables in the generics in the next, maybe in a subsequent episode. So let's quickly do arrays and something called tuples. So for arrays, quite simple as well, right? So if you're declaring an array, you do something like, const, let's say my array, all right? Also simple. You say of a type what? Number, and then it's equal to this. And this declares, let's go ahead. Oh yeah, we're just defining that. Oh, sorry, there's a 5 here. Where did that come from? All right, so now I can do, if I try to do my array dot push, and I push sum as a string, you see that this is screaming at me. All right. So if we move this here, if I do this, why is it saying, oh yeah, show fixes? Okay, well sorry, sorry about that. So let's do a number, and hopefully, okay, we have an array, which is a type of number. Yep. Yeah, so what? Let me save this before this thing misbehaves here. Interesting. Let's see. My array is this. Let me do my array here. And then let's try my array. Let's try to add a few things in there. This here. Okay. What is triggering this? All right, let's see. Yes, my array is a type of array. Let me see if I can convert this quickly to a tuple. My array is equal to, let me do this instead. Let me bring this here. And then let's set this to number. Oh yeah, and I'll show you something real quick as well before. So what I'm transitioning now into is the tuple. All right. So again, let's say I'm creating a type. All right. So oh yeah, there has to be a comma here. Yeah, so again, I've created a custom type. Let's say my list. And then now I'm going to create my array again, this time, which is going to be a type of my list, all right, which is going to be an array. So if I try to do an array, good. Now I see the push. So if I try to do the push and I do, let's say, S, all right, because, oh, what's happening? Is my saving not okay? There you go. Uh, hold on just a sec. I think there's something, an extension is conflicting with my settings. Let's save this, make sure we're saving. Yes, this has saved. Oh yeah. Okay, so you see that now it's saying that yeah, it's screen because it's working now. It's saying that you can assign it to my list because it needs to have this element. All right. So this is how you can also create another custom type into arrays and save them. Now, one thing you realize is that let's go back and create a quick function before we wrap up here. And let's say function, say, let's just call this greet. All right. And this takes, let's say, takes your name of type string, right? And then you can say it takes alias, right? An alias of string. Another thing you can do is to add a question mark to it, all right? And what that means, it tells it that, look, this is supposed to be a string. However, it can be what? Nullable. Actually, let me go back and implement that the same thing here on the arrays that we did here. So I can say that this number is optional. All right. I can say this string is also optional, and I can say that the boolean is also optional. All right. And then in this case, when we save this, it can tell us that, okay, so I can create an array, all right, that is supposed to have either number, string, or boolean, but the question mark tells us that optional. Now, there's a lot of use cases for the question mark. If you're creating a function and you're passing argument, you can use a question mark for that to also denote that this argument is what is optional. Well, looks like we are almost at time, but this is the very basic introduction to setting up your TypeScript, knowing how to create a TypeScript config, all right, and then how to compile your TypeScript. As easy as running tsc, the name of the file, all right, so in this case index, and then dot what ts, and when you run this is going to compile it and actually give you compile this and give you whoop. So yeah, we have an error here. Yeah, which is, I don't know why this is screaming. Cannot find my list. Oh, look at the naming. So there you go. It's a small, yep. So here it say, I don't know why it's still screaming at that, but we save this and compile. Let's see. Yep, there you go. Recompiled. If you look at the index, as you can see, this is just writing a very basic, JavaScript for you. So that is how to set up your TypeScript. Don't forget, if we go, let's go back to the setup, npm install. You can install it globally or you can install it locally for the project. All right, TypeScript. That's a key, the first one. You write this and then you install it, and then you can always check it, with npx and then tsc. Once you've done that, just create a file with the extension .ts, all right? And then you can go ahead and write any valid JavaScript. So we've talked about how to use annotation on variables. We've talked about how to use annotations on custom types. We've created interfaces. We've created functions, arrays, and then we've seen the tuples. Because of time, I'll leave generics out. I'll probably come back and do generics another time. Now, like I mentioned, this is a series from beginner to basic. So today is setting up your environment. In the subsequent episodes, we will now use the TypeScript to start creating things like, creating your Express applications, Angular, and all that. But we're going to cover the basics all the way to advanced. So this is where I bring today's session to an end. Thank you for making time with me. At this point, I'll be up to take any questions, or I can bring the other guest on. We can discuss a few things and go through some other things as well.
Yeah, sure. If any of you have any questions to ask Samuel, he's here to answer your questions. Just feel free and drop your questions in the comment section or in the chat session. Then Samuel answers it for you.
And even if the guest also have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. It'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Maybe once we grow, we'll see how we can get the questions coming into StreamYard as well, so that other people can see the questions that are being asked. I'm not monitoring from YouTube, so I can't really see that because I'm conserving the bandwidth to do this. But whilst we are waiting for some of the questions to come, I've just gone ahead to install Express, and just to show you that your valid things would work in TypeScript as well. So if I go ahead and do an import, just to show you a quick example of how you use TypeScript in creating an Express application. So we can say Express from, and then we'll get Intellisense running. So let's do this. What do we have here? It says, oh, Don't worry. It's just jealous of my single code. And I'm just doing this to buy us some time, whilst the questions are coming. So feel free. Uh, so you can have your express. Now I feel like I've just been called to code for you people to enjoy my session.
Yeah. So it seems we have one question here, and I would
Yep.
like to pop it up for you. Yes. So
Oh, awesome.
Emmanuel Darko said, is it possible to write TypeScript TS in JS file?
Well, so the whole concept of TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. So in every valid JavaScript, you can write it in TypeScript. Just that TypeScript is going to add the static type check to it. So think of it this way: you are writing your valid JavaScript. However, it's adding type checking to it so that you can transpile it into proper JavaScript.
Okay. So Emmanuel, I'm sure this answers your question. And as beginners, someone will also like to ask, maybe what is TypeScript in a layman understanding? Why should we even use TypeScript? Why will someone be encouraged to use TypeScript? I don't know much about that, and as a beginner, I would like to know. So why should we really use TypeScript? What is so special about it that we should use?
So from the few examples that I did, all right, you realize that if you're
Mhm.
writing regular JavaScript, you don't have any type checking. So there are a lot of bugs you will not catch until your application is running.
Oh
Until you've
wow,
compiled and running, then it breaks, and then you see some crazy warning. With TypeScript, you get to catch these bugs even before you compile.
wow.
All right. So it's preventing some of these common errors or mistakes you had, like when let's just go back again. Like I said, in regular JavaScript, okay, you can say let
Mhm,
x is equal to 20. All right.
mhm,
This is valid JavaScript. All right. But
mhm.
if I go back and say now x in regular JavaScript, you can go back and say, oh no 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 no, now I want x to be hello world. All right. In regular
Mhm.
JavaScript, you will do this, and then it will be fine, and you can console log it. Is that okay? That is
Okay.
what that's what I was trying to explain with this index dot sorry, the hello.js file. All right. Let's copy the same thing just to illustrate this. If I do this here, this is a .js file. Regular, you realize that if I do this, if we do console, um, if we do console the log of x, all right. If we compile this right now, let's actually do that. I think I have my run code here. If we do this, it's valid. Okay, it's a valid JavaScript file. But then this would have mutated x, which was meant to be a number, all right, to what? A string. Is that okay? So now if we do
Sure.
something like let's do npm hello. Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to, yeah, node, let's say hello.js. Okay. What's happening is that you are just getting this is like you find this error when the application is running. But look at this in
Mhm.
TypeScript, you realize that almost immediately when I try to reassign it to a string, it's screaming, telling me type string is not assignable to a number. All
That's
right.
very
So
awesome.
almost immediately you get this type checking for you. All right. That is one.
Wow.
Number two, ECMAScript, which is a standard for JavaScript, is still evolving. There are certain features that have not been made available in all browsers and all the environments. So which means that if you're going by the regular ECMAScript, you need to wait for it to be accepted and enacted before you can use it in your production code. Is that okay? That is, but if you're
Mhm.
using TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript, what happens is that you can use any version of ECMAScript, even the latest that has not yet been accepted, you can write the code in TypeScript, and the compiler, thanks to the TypeScript configuration file, you can say that I want it to be transferred to a specific acceptable version. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
And
Sure.
that's why I
Yes.
gave another example I gave with the async. All right. So
Mhm.
let's see this. So we'll have, I can do this, and I can get, you see, I can get Intellisense by just pressing the control space. This is what I want to use. So again, if I go back and copy my cheat code for the async function, all
Mhm.
right, in here, and we save this, and then we go back and do the TSC index.ts. Hopefully, I made a mistake. I used the comma instead of no, it's going to scream at me. So let me fix it. All right. So if we compile this now, this should compile into a more friendlier, um, you know, where is that? Where's my index? Sorry. Let me save this. Oh, sorry. Let's close this. Don't save. Yeah. And then let's save this and let me recompile tsc index.ts. Yeah. And once this compiles, hopefully we'll get a more, a more acceptable, So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So now it's converted it. So you can pretty much write any modding flavor of ECMAScript, and TypeScript will do the transpiling for you. All right.
All right.
So
All right.
that's the
All right. That's
advantage. Yeah.
yeah. That's really really awesome. That's a really, in fact, it's a big advantage. It's really a big advantage about TypeScript, and I think yeah, we would like to do something like that. I think I have another question here
Yep.
from Emmanuel Daku. So he said, is it slow compared to JS, while because TS compiles to JS? Oh,
No,
okay.
it's
So
not.
is it slow compared? Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that
Okay.
that process solely depends on what system you're using, but that's not a problem at all. It's not.
All right. All right. All right. Sure. Yeah, sure. So, Wise, is there a way attendees can access files? Yeah. So, Samuel, are we going to get the files so we can just
Uh,
maybe we can get a link to the file
yes. What I
somewhere,
can
maybe from a
do,
drive?
is, yeah. Maybe we can talk after the
All right.
session, and
Sure.
because it's going to be a
Awesome.
series, let's create a GitHub repo. Let's create a
All
GitHub
right. Sure.
repository, and then
Sure.
let's create subfolders. So let's say
All right.
episode 1, and then we can put all the
Sure.
files there, and then
That's
all the
awesome.
members can, yeah, can
Yeah.
can
So, guys,
take a look at it.
you've heard from Samuel. So I'm definitely going to do this, and you are going to love this because at the end you should be able to get all the files, everything from the GitHub repo. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. We don't want to waste much time here as well. This is just a short intro about TypeScript, and I would like you guys to watch this video over and over if you miss it, because you need to try your hands on it, and we are going to um, develop something at the end of the series. So
Yep.
kindly go through the video, and follow us whilst we are beginning this series. So make sure you follow us gradually to the end of the series. Yes. So thank you very much for joining us, Samuel Adrani. You can follow him up on Twitter. You can ask him anything at all about TypeScript on Twitter. Sadrain at Sandrain on Twitter. Then you can also follow us on Twitter, Accra.net, .net Accra on Twitter as well. And you can subscribe to the YouTube handle and make sure you hit the bell. So in case
Yep.
we go live, you get notification on the next episode when we go live. Yeah, so thank you very much, guys, for joining once again. You can join our platform also on Teams. Yes. You can join
Yeah.
our platform also on Teams. Let me see if I can get you the link to Teams. Okay, so let me get in here. So those who want to get into the conversation more, want to ask questions in Teams, you want to ask Samuel questions, you want to have one-on-one chat with Samuel, I'm going to drop the link to our Teams platform so that you can get in touch with us. All right, so let me share this link in YouTube. So bit.ly
Can we
slash
scroll it?
TypeScript. Yes, yes. So I'm even dropping it in the comments as well. Then I will
Okay.
scroll it as well so that everyone gets it. Yes, so it's in the comment and Teams
And
platform.
I've posted two links, which is to the TypeScript site where you can actually go read stuff also. And to those who join us today, because it's a series, make
Okay.
sure that you go through this step, which means that by the next series you have set up TypeScript, you have set up your environment, configured it, and then ready to flow with us. And I think we should also invite them either to the Teams channel so that
Mhm.
we can actually continue the discussion even after today, so people can ask questions and post stuff in the Teams channel even after every episode. So yeah, just join our Teams platform, and then yeah, we'll have some fun.
Yeah, guys, so join the Teams platform. The link is up there. Join the Teams platform. Let's have the conversation ongoing. In case you have any question at all you want to ask, let's keep in track. At the end, we should have great developers here. Um, Samuel is here. Is ready to support some of you guys to understand TypeScript very well. So, guys, don't miss this opportunity. I will urge you to take this opportunity serious and follow up with the link scrolling down bit.ly slash TypeScript series. Just put in this link, or I've also pasted the link or posted the link in the chat or the comment section. So you can also get the link from there as well. And join the Teams platform. Guys, let's do awesome work. Yeah, so with my colleagues here, Wise and myself, then Albert. We would like to say thank you all. Then Samuel, thank you, Samuel, for gracing us with this awesome presentation. It's purely practical and it's purely something we feel. I mean, with our fingertips, we don't want it to be slide. What is those kind of things. Yeah. So it has been purely technical, and the video is going to be there. It's going to be in our TypeScript series list. So
Mhm.
just go into our YouTube platform, as where you are, just the same where you are. Stay there, stay there, and check on the video as well when we end the session. Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, once again. We are really happy you guys joined, and make sure you alert your friends on our next episode Sunday coming up, the next following Sunday. So it's going to be 4 Sundays. So on 28th, we are having another session. Just make sure you click on the bell because the next session will be posted on YouTube, and you'll get notification that something has been posted so that you can at least follow up. Yes, thank you guys very much once again. And from us, we say bye bye.
Oh.